Am I audible now? I think I'm audible now. Okay, great. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Okay, how are you all, first of all? Okay. So let us first start with what have we gathered here for? What is the agenda of today's session? Firstly, we'll be starting with how to streamline your ethics preparation. Now, why do we want to streamline our preparation when we are already in February, right? For that, let me tell you that we have set certain goals set for today's session, which would be that we have to first stock take as to where we stand in our current preparation. Have we started for prelims too early, right? Are we confident with our mains before starting for prelims properly, right? Because what we see is that the gap between prelims and mains is continuously decreasing, right? Last this year we had 75 to 80 days gap between prelims and mains, and in that, completing your optional, completing your GS 1 2 3 4 and essay is a very daunting challenge, right? And also some of you must think that okay, एक बार prelims निकल जाएगा तो फिर देखेंगे mains का क्या करना है, and ethics is one of that those sad subjects that people feel that once we clear prelims we'll see कि ethics में क्या करना है. But I think that it is not a very wise strategy to keep prelims for then, to keep ethics for then. So we'll first stock take as to where we stand with respect to our mains preparation. Have we written enough answers, or and until when should you actually be continuing your integrated prelims plus mains preparation, right? Secondly, then we look at what are the common mistakes when it comes to the preparation. When should you be switching to prelims? When should you be doing mains entirely? Peaking at the right time when it comes to prelims. Most of you, how many of you have given attempts at prelims before this? Okay, how many of you have given more than 2 attempts at prelims? Okay. You guys must be knowing that when you start too early, there's this problem of peaking too early. When you feel exhausted by mid-April as to, you know, what am I supposed to do now? क्योंकि 10 घंटे 11 घंटे तो आप mid-April में peak कर चुके हो. Now your efficiency is low to 7-8 hours in the peak month of May. So that should not happen, which is why I believe that in February, what we can do is focus a little bit of our time, say 30% of our time on your mains preparation, right? So that is what we'll be discussing largely in detail. Then what should be the right approach? Why prelims and mains integrated right now, and why ethics per se is the best subject to be covered right now. That is what we'll look at. Okay, great. Firstly, I would like to give a little introduction about myself. I exhausted my attempts in 2023. I gave an interview in 23. My final total was 936, which was some 15 marks short of the rank list. And my score in ethics per se was 130. Something that I'm very dearly fond of is also something that I got a good score at, which sort of defines my love for this subject. And I want to transform that love into your ability to love the subject in the same way as well, right? Coming to me teaching ethics, it is when I was mentoring certain students who actually got the rank, I realized that before getting those ranks, those were some rough copies that were not writing as great answers. Most of them were stuck in some code-based questions, or say case studies per se, did not know how to bring in originality in their copy. So that is what I took to address, and that is what we'll be dealing with in today's session as well. So this was about me. Let us now start with first stock taking as to where do you stand with your current preparation. How many of you have already started for prelims? Okay, great. And how many of you have given 2 prelims already? Okay. Now, like I discussed, that the problem with stock taking is that UPSC बस साल में एक पेपर लेता है प्रीलिम्स का, उसके पहले और उसके बाद में it does not care what we are doing with our lives, what we are doing with the preparation. We have been brought up in a system, in an education system, जहाँ पर हम schooling में, we used to have this regular PTM, we used to have these half yearlies, जहाँ पर we used to get कि कब हमें switch करना है, कब हमें एक basically we used to get review of what we are doing. Now there is no review. We are our own. We have to be our own guide, right? Buddha said, "Atma Deepo Bhava." Be a guide onto yourself, right? So थोड़ा सा self check यहाँ पे is important, right? Now, how many of you feel that even if you end up clearing prelims, you will be able to clear mains, or are you prepared enough for mains when it comes to answer writing and when it comes to mains related aspects and subjects specifically? Okay, good to see two hands. But again, we are here to clear the exam in entirety and not the prelims per se. ठीक है? तो प्रॉब्लम क्या है अभी कि we have started too early for prelims. Secondly, we are directly jumping into prelims. How many of you are preparing for mains also integrated right now? Okay. How many of you have done answer writing before this? Okay, that is good. So basically what we need to ensure here is that we are peaking at the right time, switching at the right time. ठीक है? उसके लिए we want कि February का month जो हो उसको हम सही तरीके से ट्रांजिशन करने के लिए यूज करें. Today is 8th of February. I want you to take at least 20 to 25 days more for integrated prelims and mains preparation, after which go all in मतलब कि 10 घंटे 11 घंटे into your prelims preparation, जहाँ पर your goal should be to revise your prelim subjects properly for like 3-4 times before you go for that final paper. But उसके पहले you have to understand कि prelims निकालना कभी goal नहीं था. Prelims is just one big hurdle that we are scared of. ठीक है? So that is what we have to look for. Then this is a quote that I want you to inspire with. That if you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something that you've never done. Okay? If you want to clear this exam, do some things, do the right things at the right time. All of us know कि prelims और mains हमें integrated लेके चलना होता है. We have to take that pain right now. But we're avoiding that pain. Why? Because we want कि हम बाद में, देख लेंगे जो भी होगा. So that is the problem. So you must be willing to do something that you've never done. So now that we realize that there is some course correction required in our preparation, let us first see what are the common mistakes that you guys must be prone to committing right now, right? Now first is starting for prelims too early. We already discussed, right? Second is thinking that mains is something that can be tackled post prelims. That 75 to 80 days gap is there. उसमें, and I do not mean that आपने optional एक बार reading करी है, 2 बार reading करी है, that is equal to finishing your mains preparation. What I mean is that you've prepared, read your optional, GS 1, 2, 3, 4. And your essay. How many of you have done answer writing for all these things? Good. 3 people, 4 people in the room. Now the problem is that this all जो competition के साथ आप बैठ रहे हो, those are people who are already having ranks. Those are people who missed the final cutoff by some 2-3 marks. ठीक है? आप कैसे 80 days में you are expecting कि आप इन सारे टॉपिक्स का वैल्यू एडिशन भी कर लोगे? ठीक है? आप स्ट्रक्चर्ड वे में आंसर्स भी लिख लोगे, आप इंट्रोस कंक्लूजन्स एकदम परफेक्ट कर लोगे? That is not something that's going to happen, right? And what happens is even if you end up clearing prelims, आप एक vicious cycle में फंस जाओगे कि लो मार्क्स आ रहे हैं prelims में मार्क्स आ रहे हैं, मेंस में लो मार्क्स आ रहे हैं, and that loop is continuing because we're never giving wholehearted time to our mains preparation. There's one thing that I'd like to tell you here is that Shakti was a student of mine and she had 126 in her 2023 as final score in ethics, right? Now, I know most students, if they get 126 as a score, in ethics, they will leave ethics as it is, कि मतलब इसके आगे तो क्या ही improvement हो सकता है. It is your drive to want to bring this score to something beyond 140 that will get you to those ranks. Shobhika Pathak, she's already ranked 37. She had 90 as her score in ethics. She was already in service though with that score, but she went on to improve it to 129 this year, and she got her desired service in rank, right? तो इस विशियस साइकिल से निकलने के लिए फर्स्टली यू हैव टू वांट टू बी बेटर एट व्हाट यू आर डूइंग. ठीक है, आपको कॉन्स्टेंटली इम्प्रूव करने की एटलीस्ट वांट होनी चाहिए. You know, there were some students while I was teaching and mentoring that they were always like, what can I do better until the last day? Until the last day. There were times when I had to brainstorm कि अब मैं इसको क्या बता दूं नई टेक्निक, right? But at the same time, there were students after repeated copy, मतलब मुझे I used to be frustrated that I told this guy the same thing for the last 4 tests, but he does not listen. तो वो improvement कैसे आएगा, right? So that is why you have to, you know, step out of your comfort zone. Decide कि okay, now I want to improve. Even if this copy is at 140, I want to see what is better, what can be done better. Not just in terms of your ethics preparation, but your preparation in general, right? So that is what my idea is when it comes to mains, right? Because you can never be, I used to say this in my classes all the time, that there is no wrong answer in ethics, but the best answer can be made better in ethics. गलत आंसर कुछ नहीं, आप जस्टिफाई कुछ भी कर सकते हो, right? But the better answer, the best of answers can be made better, can be improved. And that is the philosophy I want you to take from here. Not be perfectionist, but always look for improvements, right? Right, but see what is lagging in those copies, see what can be done better, right? Now, so I want to again bring to your notice this quote that UPSC has asked in one of its essay papers, that a ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are for, right? A ship in the harbor is safe. In your context, I would link it with how you're safe, not getting any criticism, any feedback from the mentors. आप अपने cocoon में रह रहे हो कि I'm doing good with whatever I'm doing with when it comes to mains. ठीक है, अभी मैं prelims करती हूँ, बाद में देखेंगे कि क्या होता है mains का, right? But that is not the right approach, because that is not what you're here for. You're not here to clear prelims at best, right? You're here to get a rank, and you're competing with the finest brains of the country, those who have already cracked the same exam that you're sitting for, right? So I want you to be more inquisitive, more dedicated towards this exam as a whole, and not जो सामने problem दिख रही है of prelims per se. Now I'm not saying that you shouldn't be moving towards prelims, but some 70-30 balance we'll try to establish today, right? Now, coming to why ethics is the most appropriate subject to be done in this month per se. We are in February. We have some 20-22 days, right, before we can switch to your properly to prelims, right? Uske baad, you have to go all in for prelims. But these 20, 22, 25 days are something that you can use right now at best for ethics. Why? It is a highly static subject, not in terms of कि आपको recent examples नहीं लिखने, या आपको एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग करंट से लिंक करके नहीं लिखनी होती, बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ कि इंटेग्रिटी तो इंटेग्रिटी थी, राइट? When you think of integrity, the value remains the same. It is how you link it with current examples that will change. So value addition will be required. Some of it will be done towards mains, right? But abhi ke liye it is a highly static subject as compared to your GS3, right? GS2. कुछ भी fact होगा, you'll have to continuously keep on changing it, right? कुछ नया आ जाएगा, then you'll have to change the data. So for that, it is a highly static subject. आप एक बार ही करके रख लो. It is a sweet little subject. If you complete it, you're good to go, right? Secondly, short syllabus. How many topics are there when it comes to ethics? Anyone? I'll show you. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 topics. All these themes when covered topic wise, theme wise, अगर आपने understanding build करके value added notes करके PYQs लिख लिए, which is all possible in a month's duration, you're good to go, right? So this is another reason why you should be giving these 20-25 days to your ethics preparation right now. ठीक है? बहुत brief syllabus है. You will be done and good to go. Now, coming to highest return on investment. 7 topics you read, you show some personalization, you give some original examples, you draw some interlinkages with theories, and you get the highest return on investment, right? Instead of reading GS3, I see students reading GS3 for, for some 1.5, 2 months. Marks kitne aate hain usme? 80s mein everyone is stuck in the same boat. Most toppers also get 83s, right? So why do you want to invest that crucial time? I'm not saying don't do GS3, but wisely choose which subject you should be giving how much time, right? Instead of putting those extra 20 days into GS3, you can be developing an entire edge in GS4, right? So highest return on investment when you see topic wise, it is there in your ethics subject. Then you have a primary rank decider. We've already discussed. If you see ranks like Shakti got 141 in ethics, Aditya Srivastava sir got 143 in ethics, Shruti Sharma ma'am, she got 139 in ethics. So again, top ranks mein if you see, you have to ace this subject. Plus, most optionals right now are dipping if you see. PSIR ho gaya, sociology ho gaya. You cannot rely on these optionals. So this right now is the subject that is being rewarded well. ठीक है? तो इसमें invest करना is a good strategy, I would believe right now, right? Then now coming to how to approach ethics now that we've understood that it is the right time to do ethics. ठीक है? सबसे पहले what most people miss out on is what is the demand that UPSC is keeping from you when it comes to reading ethics. I'll just read this line and you will know. How many of you written mains again? Tell me if you knew this from before, right? This paper will include questions to test the candidate's attitude and approach to issues relating to integrity, probity in public life. Your attitude, your personality, how you deal with problems, right? How many of you have written, whoever has written mains or ethics answers, how many have written personalized examples or some real life examples drawn, introspections from there? Right? Did you realize this before? That you want to show your way of thinking. आप क्या सोचते हो किसी टॉपिक के बारे में? For example, let me show you this question. In the context of defense services, patriotism demands readiness to even lay down one's life in protecting the nation. According to you, what does patriotism imply in everyday civil life? अब patriotism की अगर हम बात करें, not every day is it कि आपको कुछ heroic action करने की का मतलब मौका मिलता है, right? So what does patriotism then mean to you? Anyone online? How will you show patriotism in daily life? आप यहाँ से निकल के कैसे दिखाओगे patriotism? Good. What else? Okay. Anybody else? Clean our environment. ठीक है. Clean our environment को मतलब आप personalized act बना के बता सकते हो कि cleaning up a littered ground, right? What else? Following traffic rules, paying your taxes on time, following roughly the constitutional duties that you have, fundamental duties that you have, उसको आप personalize करके लिख सकते हो, right? Now, this is not how we were thinking of ethics as. हमें क्या लगता है कि integrity दिखा तो example अशोक खेमका सर के वो transfers याद आ गए, उनका examples लिख के we drop it off. But again, if you read the copy as an examiner and if you see कि हर copy में वही अशोक खेमका सर को परेशान किया जा रहा है integrity की बात पे, तो that is when you realize that something's wrong with the way we are approaching this paper so far, right? तो ये थोड़ा सा develop that interest in this subject, develop that inquisitiveness in this subject, right? This is the only paper where you get to show your personality. Make sure you leave an examiner per ek impression when you leave, right? Case studies में many a times they give a thin line between the right and wrong, and in answers also some people get trapped कि ठीक है मतलब इतना भी तो गलत नहीं लग रहा है ऑप्शन ये वाला. But no, you have to show a firm hand that yes, this is what I would stand for, no matter how easy is the wrong way. ठीक है? So that is what I'm talking about. So basically it is about showing your personality through this paper. And those who've done that gotten the marks, right? Little differentiation from the rest of the crowd, and you get to score good marks in ethics. So these are not one-off examples. There are many more people who are writing this year 24 के results में. There are many more people who have scored in the range of 130s, 140s, right? It is possible. Now, coming to first building a solid foundation when it comes to ethics. कैसे कर सकते हैं? सबसे पहले developing a theme-wise understanding. Just a second. Developing a theme-wise understanding and critical perspective. Ab now what do we do? Read. एक तो there's all kinds of philosophical material in the market, but there's no practical approach to ethics, I believe, right? For example, role of family. Now, if you're reading role of family, you will prepare on the positive side of role of family. What is the positive side of role of family? Anyone? Okay. Okay. And socialization to in general ho gaya. What are the positives? Yes, right. Your father teaches you discipline, mother teaches you selflessness. Not that father cannot teach selflessness, but in general. So basically that. Then negative aspect of it, you know, casteism. Yes. Yes. How do you treat women in your family? That is where you learn. Yes, patriarchy. So that is what we want to understand. When we read of, say, emotional intelligence, तो हमें एक क्रिटिकल पर्सपेक्टिव भी पता करना चाहिए कि कोई भी लीडर है अगर, he would be a person of great emotional intelligence. He would know how to drive the emotions of the crowd. अब वो उसके ऊपर है वो पॉजिटिवली यूज कर रहा है या नेगेटिवली यूज कर रहा है. Hitler was also an example of great emotional intelligence, but did he bring great values to the rescue? Did he use it in a positive manner? No, right? So developing that theme wise understanding. How is UPSC asking? अब जैसे attitude पे question है. Now attitude, what will UPSC do? Compare it with aptitude. Is attitude more important or aptitude more important? Compare it with civil services values. What is the right attitude needed for a public servant, right? तो जो भी पेपर छुपा हुआ है वो 140 नंबर इसी में है, right? Then why are we not preparing for it accordingly is my question, right? So if you develop a proper theme-wise understanding and critical perspective of this much, these many topics, we are good to go, right? Then next, value addition. Now, like I said, it is a static subject, but you need value addition. Okay? You need originality in your examples. Okay? For example, the basic thing that you can do for this is, what are the keywords here? Attitude, aptitude, emotional intelligence, public service values में जितने भी values हैं, right? Then you have probity. Whatever values are there in your syllabus, find them out. Of all proper values, develop positive examples, negative examples, right? Examples related to that value and public servants. For example, compassionate attitude का कोई public servant example, let's say compassionate कोई कोड़े, ठीक है, ये हो गया. तो basically link them thoroughly with positive, negative civil servant examples, personal life examples, right? Mythological examples. So ऐसे if you build a stream of examples on all of these values, Now what I noticed also while seeing many of the copies was कि जैसे ही attitude दिखा, attitude is a learned predisposition of people. We start with that definition without putting any brains into it. Prepare a quote, prepare a Sanskrit shloka, right? सारे common themes है, घुमा फिरा के वहीं से questions pick हो रहे हैं हर year, and every time I see repeated introductions. As an examiner, after the fourth copy, it's not even value addition anymore, right? Ashok Khemka sir is a static part of the syllabus, I believe now, right? So that is what we have to work upon, right? Then coming to, yes, so this is what I mean when I say that you have to prepare examples, quotes, keywords, definitions last resort है, जहां पर आपको पूछा हो define the term, what do you mean by this, only there you're supposed to explain it, otherwise do not write a definition in my perspective, right? Okay, then after all this, how many of you have done all this already? Good, expected. Okay, now even after doing all this, what are the challenges that you are going to face in ethics, right? First is ethics में जो reading वाला perspective है और understanding वाला part है, that is very different from writing an actual answer, right? Why is that? सबसे पहले तो let me show you the syllabus first again. There's this topic, contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and the world, right? Now ये topic हम बहुत elaborately पढ़ते हैं. When we read first about, say, virtue ethics, we read about Gandhian seven sins, we read about Gandhian talisman, we read about deontology, teleology, सब पढ़ लेते हैं हम, ठीक है? प्लेटो पढ़ेंगे, अरिस्टोटल पढ़ेंगे, रॉल्स पढ़ेंगे, everything we'll read. But when it comes to writing an answer, रॉल्स को अप्लाई कहाँ करना है, most people are confused there, right? How to link climate change with virtue ethics, how to link deontology with, say, climate change, all these things you have to learn. Interlinkages जब तक आप draw नहीं करोगे तब तक nothing is going to happen. UPSC कभी आपको directly नहीं पूछने वाला, except for one question that they give, that you know they'll give, say, for example, Guru Nanak's ideas and what do they mean in contemporary times. एक question आएगा, but बाकी का क्या, roles क्यों पढ़ा हमने फिर, right? We want to utilize that as well. So that is why reading is not the same thing as wanting to or ability to apply ethics. Okay. Second is that one major problem whoever has written mains must have faced, that there's a big time constraint when it comes to writing ethics papers, right? एक तो जिस situation में आप ये paper लिख रहे होते हो, you give first essay, then GS1 in the first half, next day GS2 in the second half, then GS3. Last में when you're writing GS4, everything's on autopilot, ठीक है? Whatever you know in your head, fixated permanently, वही आप लिख पाओगे, उसके अलावा you don't know how to deal with this subject, right? So again, for this, what is the solution? Let me tell you. First is template and structure driven answer writing, ठीक है? सबसे पहले, for example, let me take this as an example, this question. How many of you have gone through this question? Code based question? Yes. Those who in trouble untroubled are will trouble itself. Now imagine you're writing this after writing essay GS1, 2, 3 or 4, right? Those who in trouble untroubled are will trouble itself. पहले तो you will take a pause, you'll think, oh, why are they playing with me? And then you will think, how do I answer this? Now anyone think of writing an introduction to this question when you have this template. Can you now read this question and tell me what are the underlying values that this quote is talking about? Adversity, dealing with discomfort, being comfortable in discomfort, let us say. What else? Perseverance, courage, right? The above quote discusses the relevance of perseverance, dealing with adversity with a calm mind, emotional intelligence, another value from your syllabus, right? Now imagine if you had, sorry? positive attitude. Imagine having this at your rescue in the examination, right? You would be like, I know a lot of people who actually, जब code based questions आते हैं, वो active voice को passive voice करके आते हैं. Thiruvalluvar wants to discuss this in passive voice. Why would the examiner want to read your passive voice? ठीक है, कुछ और ओरिजिनल दो, कुछ वैल्यूज ही दे दो, राइट? देयर आर मेनी टेम्पलेट्स, देयर आर मेनी स्ट्रक्चर्स जिसमें आप सोच के एक प्रॉपर आंसर लिख सकते हो एथिक्स का, राइट? That is what I mean by template and structure driven answer writing, right? So you have a repository of introductions, 5-6 ways of introductions, 5-6 ways of writing main body as well, etc. We'll discuss those as well. This question, for example, what were the major teachings of Guru Nanak? Explain the relevance in contemporary world. How do you explain the relevance of teachings of Guru Nanak in the contemporary world? Anyone? What are the teachings of Guru Nanak? Good. These are the real ones. Tolerance तो हम मतलब कुछ नहीं आता है तो बना लेते हैं. किरत करनी, Vanth Chakko. Kirat Karni is honest living, right? What is Vanth Chakko? Anyone? Okay. हाँ, मतलब वही शेयर्ड लिविंग बोल सकते हो आप, ठीक है? तो किरत करनी का व्हाट इज द कंटेम्पररी रेलेवेंस दैट यू वुड वांट टू गिव? ऑनेस्ट लिविंग, करप्शन से लिंक कर दो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में. यू कैन लिंक विद एनी रीसेंट एग्जांपल्स ऑफ करप्शन. willful defaulters से लिंक कर दो if there any recent, right? One Chakko, shared living. Can I link this shared living with India's Vaccine Maitri initiative? Can I link this with India's HADR diplomacy initiatives, Operation Dost, India's initiatives for Global South, the efforts it makes for Global South? Did you think it that way? Right? So again, Guru Nanak, when he said it, did not restrict it to India, right? Did not restrict it to any individual example. When we think of ethics like this, the answers become more beautiful. जो आप लिख रहे होगे शायद ही कोई और लिख रहा होगा उतना लेवल पे जाके. Even if you're writing thinking like this, आपके different examples, एक originality in answers you'll be able to show. That is what I want in ethics, right? So like this, that basically whatever teachings are there show a contemporary relevance. Now इस पे भी you could have showed more recent examples. उस time पे mains के time पे जो भी initiatives India ने किए हो, if it's helped any country, if it's done any rescue operations, recent, सबसे recent जो हो, which you will be reading for GS 1, 2, 3, but आप link नहीं करते हो क्योंकि आप ethics को एक अलग philosophical dead subject समझते हो, which it is not, right? So that is what. Now maintaining your originality and uniqueness in the examination. Again, people who are written mains, see this question. Convey to you. We missed this. We missed it in the syllabus as well. UPSC फिर से बता रहा था कि convey to you बताओ. We did not tell. ठीक है? We wrote that similar. Ashok Khemka sir. Now, so faith is of no avail in the absence of strength. Faith and strength both are essential to accomplish any great task. This is our question. Now tell me from an aspirant's life, and I'm not saying these are the arguments that you should be writing. This can be one of the examples that you write. Okay? From an aspirant's life, can you link it with this? अगर आपने पूरी प्रिपरेशन करी है, अगर आप प्रीलिम्स डे पर नर्वस होके चले जाओ, in those 2 hours, गेम बिगड़ जाता है सब, right? You could have linked it with this. You could have linked it with India's development goals, wanting to become a developed country by 2047, right? Can you link it with this? But if you want to become a developed country by 2047, you have to put in real skilling in the people, right? You cannot expect that you will be able to become a developed country just by having faith without any real actions. Okay? That is what you have to think when you think in terms of examples in ethics, right? जो भी आपके GS 1 2 3 का content है can be used in GS 4 entirely. You just have to put a perspective into it. Okay? Right. This bringing uniqueness in answers. Now, one thing I would say that is common between you and the examiner, not one thing, three things actually. One is your syllabus, right? सिलेबस इज कॉमन बिटवीन यू एंड द एग्जामिनर. जो वैल्यूज आप उसमें लिखोगे अगर वो सिलेबस में उसको याद आएगा कि अरे ये तो पढ़ा था कहीं. सेकंड इज द न्यूज़पेपर, राइट? Newspaper he is also reading, you're also reading. Third is sadly social media. Now I hope you are both on the same side of social media. Mostly you are. This KBC kit, how many of you remember? Right? Now, how many of you will actually go on to write this as an example in ethics? And why can we not use this as an example? This is when society shows its real face. That basically जब हमारे पास एक chance होता है to showcase that we have freedom of expression and opinion. We'll not even leave a kid, right? How many of you have not been annoying as a child? It's not possible, right? That we all have done those same things. Just because it's in a recorded format on a video on social media does not give us the right to bully everyone or anyone, right? So that is what. Second, the sad Noida man's death by falling in a pool. Now, this also is an example of government apathy, but we will forget it by the time we're writing an ethics paper, right? अब जरूरी नहीं है कि आप यही एग्जाम्पल्स लिखो. जब आप एक्चुअल मेंस लिख रहे होगे के अराउंड जो 2-3 महीने में इवेंट्स होंगे एंड ऑल दीज थिंग्स कीप ऑन लाइक सैडली हैपनिंग, राइट? सो व्हाई कैन यू नॉट यूज दोस एग्जाम्पल? इट विल शो दैट यू आर अ थिंकिंग रियल बीइंग. जब आप वही सब रटे रटाए एक पेपर में से एग्जाम्पल्स लिख के आते हो एंड एवरीवन is writing the same example, it does not create any impact on the examiner. वो value addition आपके लिए है, examiner के लिए है ही नहीं, right? So that is what we are wanting to do here, right? Now, like I discussed, drawing philosophical interlinkages. Firstly, when you read roles, I also want you to read which syllabus keyword, which syllabus theme will you be able to use roles at, right? Which applied ethics theme will you be able to use Gandhian 7 sins with? For example, pleasure without conscience. Where can I use pleasure without conscience? Anyone? Can I use it with environmental degradation? Climate change? Yes. What else? Yes, good. Pleasure without conscience. But we do not think of it that way. हम सोचते हैं कि एग्जाम में बैठेंगे, we are born philosophers, we'll write one of the Gandhian 7 sins and we'll know where to link it with. That is not going to happen. These are the efforts that you have to make before you sit in the actual paper. जिस situation में आप GS4 लिख रहे होते हो, आप बस लिख रहे होते हो. You are not there mentally because of the conditions that you write this paper in. Right? So you have to make it internalize. You have to internalize this paper before you actually sit for it. Right? Okay. Now, coming to strategy for the month of February. I've already discussed this largely. I'll take this up briefly. 70% of the time, if you have given more than 2 prelims, right, devoted to prelims. 30% of the time, devoted to ethics, I would say, right? What you can do is first develop conceptual clarity. Like I discussed, theme wise preparation, critical perspective, and also analyzing the topics per se. How is UPSC asking? PYQs are your best resource. How is UPSC asking a topic that you will be able to tell? Secondly, value addition and note making. Right? How I told you, keyword sheets, theme wise notes, positives and negatives, critical perspective, way forwards of each of the themes that are there, right? Third and the most important aspect is PYQ brainstorming. Many times I see people coming after the paper and saying the paper was very difficult क्योंकि उसमें artificial intelligence पूछ लिया, क्योंकि उसमें social media पूछ लिया. This has been coming year after year. If you sit with the paper, you will know. पूछ वो integrity रहे हैं, बस apply कहीं और कर दे रहे हैं, right? It is asking the same ethical issues. Why don't you prepare and go once, right? So that is what PYQ brainstorming will do, and the structures and templates that I'm talking about. If you apply those to PYQs, that is when you will know कि आपको final paper में apply करते बनेगा वो, right? So that is what you have to sort of realize and understand. These are the 3 steps I would say that you have to do. Give it just 30% of your time. If you're reading for 9 hours, 10 hours, 3 hours at best, and I think you will be good to go, right? Coming to how the ethics mark improvement program helps you in this. First thing is, what we're doing is, we're doing it in 2 phases. Understanding that you are basically going to switch to prelims full time in the month of March, right? So in those 3 hours, what we can do is do concept classes and value addition sessions properly, topic wise. Then we'll do PYQ based mini test. So basically what we'll do is, with a time limit, say 7 minutes, maybe we'll write some 6-7 questions, and after those 6-7 questions there'll be a live discussion applying the templates that are discussed with you first, applying the introduction templates, main body templates, structuring कैसे करनी है, examples को कैसे brainstorm करना है, right? So all those things will be done after the concept classes in the PYQ based mini test and the live discussion that follows the next day. And this would be like, suppose you attend emotional intelligence ki class, this will be the next day of the class. You will be given a set of notes, you have to read those notes and then write these mini tests in a time based format after reading those set of notes, okay? And that is how we will go. And plus there is one-to-one mentorship to discuss with me whatever you feel needs to be discussed at this juncture. In the second phase after prelims, what we would do is dedicated half-length tests, right? Because of course you must have cleared prelims by then, and you would want to check whether you're able to write in a timely manner a full paper or not. And case study mastery. Case study, kyunki it is just an applied part of what you read in part A, we will deal with it in after prelims, right? Third is revision sessions, and fourth is your exam strategy sessions. How to attempt the paper. Do we attempt case studies first? Do we attempt part A section first, right? How to prepare for code-based questions, etc. Special sessions will be a part of this. So again, what I'd say is, put some effort into this small subject right now, so that some of your headache during mains is reduced, right? Any doubt, any of you, if you have regarding the session or anything in general, you can ask. Yes.
Interview, my score in my first attempt was 107.
Okay.
In my second attempt in 2024, it was 114 marks.
Okay. Okay.
So now I'm not able to find out कि improve कैसे करना है, ये score 130 के benchmark पे कैसे नीचे जाना है. मैंने PYQs वगैरह भी सभी अभी रिसेंट में लिखे हैं, बट वो जो आप बोल रहे हो एग्जाम्पल वाला पार्ट है वो बड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो रहा है.
See, मतलब वही है, if you develop some interest in the subject, आपको खुद चीजें थोड़ा सा streamline होने लगेंगी. What I'm saying is that you have read theories in general, but आपने theories को कहाँ use करना है वो पढ़ा ही नहीं है ना? जब आप questions लिख रहे हो, are you able to interlink with the examples that you're reading daily? Are you able to interlink with the theories that you've read daily? तो वो थोड़ा सा PYQ practice, brainstorming, dealing with each and every theme that UPSC has asked, उससे थोड़ा possible हो पाएगा, right? Anything else? Anybody else? Yes. Yes. So basically, one of the ways that you can use case studies to answer current happenings is in the introduction. Suppose there's a case study on landslides, right? Now you can refer to one of the recent happenings of landslides. अगर कोई case study border management पे है, you can refer to one of the recent happenings on our borders. Usually, sometimes ऐसा होता है कि UPSC takes cues from whatever has happened in the recent past, और वो उसी का question बना के देते हैं. So you also have to indirectly show that I'm aware of this happening, right? Sometimes if a case study is on caste discrimination, right? But you have to tell that, okay, I'm aware of this problem in the Indian circumstances. So what you tell them is the present scenario कि इतने caste based violence के cases हैं India में. You can use data from GS3, GS2 per se. So that is what you can do to inculcate current affairs in case studies per se, right? Second way you can use it is case studies में case studies inculcate करके. Basically, this was one thing, one program that we came up with to deal with this crisis, right? That is how you can inculcate current affairs. Yes, anyone else? No, I do not think so. Also, we'll be providing you with notes, and I want you to read only that much, right? Because I think that will suffice. Whatever original examples that I'm talking about, that I would want कि ideally आप खुद से और सोचो और वो interlink करो, right? Yes. Anybody else? Yes. We'll have 9 concept and value added classes in phase 1, right? And we'll have 9 answer writing sessions. So one concept class and value added session, and then we'll have a PYQ writing session on the same, right? So it will be a gap of 1 day, and then you'll have the next day you'll have the session same. So right now we'll have 18 classes. The rest of the classes, case study sessions, वो सब post prelims. 2.5 to 3 hours. Yes. Right. Yes. Though the mentor is me, I'll be mentoring. And you can always come and show it to me. And self-evaluate जो मैं structures बताऊंगी, जो आपको discussions में I'll tell you that if most of you have done the same thing, जो गलत है, that in discussion I'll take it up, right? कि this was the approach. You'll be able to self-analyze after that, right? Yes. Anybody else? Okay. I think we're done with the session. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you had a good time. Thank you.